to get started, the handouts for today are available in the lower left-hand corner of the screen. You can just select it and download the file to your computer and to open the files that we'll be using today. If you have trouble hearing the presentation at any time through your computer speakers, you can always dial into the phone number at the top of the screen. If you have any questions during the webinar, please go ahead and enter them into the chat area, and I'll go ahead and collect them for our presenter today and to answer towards the end of our webinar. Our webinar will be recorded today, and we'll post that on Illinois WorkNet. We'll also send a follow-up email to let you know when that recording is available. And now I'm going to go ahead and turn the presentation over to our presenter, Keisha Hurd, with Ladder Up. So enjoy the webinar, everyone.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Keisha Hurd. I am a financial aid program manager at Ladder Up. Ladder Up is most recognized for our tax assistance program. We do offer free tax preparations over throughout the city at about 20 different locations. We also have a financial literacy education program where we help families understand basics in budgeting, credit, and so forth. Today we're going to be speaking on a topic from our financial aid program, which is geared towards helping students find funding that they need for college and to better understand that. In preparing for the financial aid basics, some things that we would discuss is the who, what, why, when, and where of the financial aid process. Most importantly, the free application for federal student aid, most recognized as FAFSA. So moving forward, this is a screenshot of the website that you would go to in order to complete the application. A lot of times students, whether they're high school or returning students, they get confused with the website. So when you're looking at completing the application, it's very important that you're at FAFSA.gov, not edu, not .com, or anything of that nature. The FAFSA becomes available as early as January 1st of each year, and you can complete it on January 1st if that's something that you want to do. So moving forward, another screenshot here. The FAFSA on the web, there's 4 main points that you want to understand with the FAFSA. It's quick, it's easy, accurate, and it's safe if you're at the right website. So again, the website is FAFSA, FAFSA.gov, G-O-V. So they give you help screens to guide you through the process. So if there's a question that you come to that you don't quite understand, there are help screens there are help guides on the screen that will help you to understand what the question is asking of you. So moving forward, we want to understand some of the basic information that is mandatory for each applicant that completes the FAFSA. That ranges from your demographics, such as your birth date, your social security number, your address, all the way down to your signature where you would have to submit a PIN. So you don't have to memorize this information, but just think about if you're filling out any type of application. Your basic information is always required. Some of the documents that you need to have prepared for the FAFSA completion is your social security number of the student. If you're a minor student, minor in this case is under the age of 24, you will also need to have your parents' social security numbers available. You need birth dates for yourself and parents if necessary. If you have a student alien registration card, you'll need that with the numbers. You will also need a copy of your previous year's W-2 forms or your current year tax forms. And you will also need any information about your assets. So when we think about completing an application for financial aid, you first need to understand what financial aid means for you. So financial aid is basically the difference between how much a college tuition costs and what you can actually afford to pay for college. So within financial aid, you want to look at funding that you can get from the federal government, from the state government, from outside sources for, different scholarships, and from that particular institution. So the one thing that you want to always remember is not to underestimate your options. Never assume that because you have limited funds that you cannot attend college, because there's a lot of aid that's available for families. some types of financial aid, we like to break them down into two areas. You have your gift aid and your self-help aid. Gift aid is exactly how it sounds. It consists of grants and scholarships. It's basically money that you do not have to repay. It's money that's given to you. Self-help aid is money that you earn or money that comes with a stipulation. So money that you earn can fall under the work-study program where students are able to work on campus and sometimes get a decrease in their tuition because of that. And then student loans, and of course we know that student loans will have to be repaid by the student. So let's break down grants a little bit. In order to qualify for federal grants, you will have to have a completed FAFSA on file with the federal government. Some federal grants include the federal Pell Grant. Last year, or the year before, I'm sorry, they awarded a little over $5,000 to students that qualify. Now, the amount that you get will depend on what your EFC will be, but we'll get to that shortly. And then you also have the what we consider the FFEOG grant. This is a grant that is per institution. So not every student will qualify for this grant. Not every student will receive it. But depending on the institution that you attend, you may be qualified to receive it. And then the MAP grant, which is a program that is specifically for the state of Illinois. So any student that attends a college in that state will more than likely qualify for the MAP grant. Again, this is an amount that offers you a max at $47.20, but your EFC determines how much of the grant that you would actually qualify for. So when we think about other forms of money that we can receive or that we can obtain to pay for college, we cannot leave out student loans. There's some federal student loan programs. They're called the Perkins, Stafford, and the PLUS. They all have different types of interest rates. Some are subsidized, which means that your interest doesn't begin to accrue until after you graduate. And some are unsubsidized, which means that as soon as the money is received by the college or the institution, you then begin to build interest on it. And PLUS loans are credit-based type loans. They are offered for parents as well as graduate students. So the reason why you may want to consider federal loans versus a private loan if you need a loan to help you pay for tuition is because we have a lot of new income-based repayment plans that are available, some including the public service benefits, where if you're going into that field and working, you can receive a decrease in your payments after 10 years. There's many different types of repayment plans offered for students that receive federal student loans versus receiving a private loan. We also have pay-as-you-earn options with federal student loans, and then the interest rates are much lower for federal loans. So if you're wondering if you're eligible for federal financial aid, these are some questions that you need to ask yourself. Are you a U.S. citizen? Do you have a valid Social Security number? The important part to remember about the valid Social Security number is that the applicant must have a valid Social Security number, not the parent. So if you are a student and you're graduating from high school or you're underneath the age of 24, then you can apply for the FAFSA if you, as the student, have a valid Social Security number. If your parent doesn't have a valid Social Security number, you don't have to worry about that for this part of the application process, as long as the applicant themselves has it. And then for male students, you want to make sure that you register with Selective Service. Even if you're unsure, you still want to click yes to this answer, just so that all your ducks are crossed. All your ducks are in a row. It's very important for male students to understand that if you do not register for Selective Service, you do not qualify for any funding from the federal government. For undocumented students, as I mentioned previously, that the status of the parent is not important for the FAFSA. So the student must have a Social Security number, not necessarily the parent. However, if the student does not have a valid Social Security number, you cannot complete the FAFSA. But there is funding out there for students without a valid Social Security number. You must rely on private scholarships and institutional aid. However, if you need assistance with this, this is something that Ladder Up may be able to help you with. Undocumented students, meaning that you do not have a valid Social Security number, are eligible for in-state tuition in Illinois as well as some surrounding states. And then there's many resources on private scholarships that are out there for you. There's a few that are listed here. The presentation will be available for you for later viewing, so you can go back to this page and find out this information. When completing the FAFSA, there's a difference between what we consider in a normal setting to be a dependent or independent student. A dependent student for the FAFSA purposes may be completely different to what you feel a traditional student is. So let's look at independent status. If you are underneath the age of 24, you are only considered an independent student if you fit into at least one of these categories. Now, on the FAFSA, they can give you additional information on what these categories or what the qualifications for these categories may be. But this gives you a snapshot view of at those items. So, who's considered a parent for the FAFSA? Of course, your biological parents with whom you live with, any step-parents that are married to your biological parents, and if you were adopted before the age of 13, your adoptive parents are considered your parents. However, if you're adopted after the age of 13, you are then considered an independent student. The difference between being dependent and independent simply means whether or not you have to provide your parents tax information or income information. If you're considered an independent student, you will only have to include the student's income information. If you are considered a dependent student, you have to include both your income information and your parents. A homeless and unaccompanied youth. A homeless youth means that you're lacking a fixed or regular housing. So this means that you could be living in a shelter, you can be living with a friend, with other relatives, and not really know where a stable place will be for you to live. This is considered a homeless student. For the FAFSA purposes, any homeless student must register with the homeless liaison or within the homeless program at their high school or college. There has to be some paper trail that documents that you are in fact a homeless student. An unaccompanied youth means a student that is not living with their parent or guardian. So if your parents or guardians move to another state and you're living with your aunt, you may be considered an unaccompanied youth. There are also some special student populations that we look at when it comes time to complete a FAFSA. Again, if you're homeless or you're at risk of being homeless, no matter who is making that determination of you being homeless, you have to remember that it has to be homeless and unaccompanied in order for you to be deemed independent on the FAFSA. Only a financial aid administrator can verify this status for you. So this is something that you will need to get verified with the financial aid administrator at your institution. If you are under DCFS care or foster care, you may be eligible for a number of programs that will help you pay for tuition and that will also help you to get out of the homelessness status. So you can always meet with your DCFS caseworker to discuss those options for you. And then a professional judgment is basically an overruling of a decision made through the FAFSA by the financial aid administrator. This is something that you would have to work closely with the school to determine, and only they can determine whether or not they will overrule a FAFSA decision. So many times we have students that ask us about their ability to obtain parental information. Under very limited circumstances, can a dependent student be omitted from submitting a parent's information? Some reasons that will not work are that the parents just simply don't want to provide their information, or they're refusing to contribute. Those are situations, unfortunately, that a financial aid administrator will not overrule. However, if your parents are incarcerated or that the student left home due to an unstable or unsafe environment, things of that nature can result in having this information being overlooked for the purposes of the FAFSA. However, everything must be documented. So let's talk about some of the things that the FAFSA calculates for a student. So a FAFSA is basically used to determine a family's eligibility to pay for college, and that includes their eligibility for federal and state assistance as well as scholarships. It's required by all schools in the United States for all students. So, and it helps you to understand what your financial need will be as far as paying for college. It collects information on various things: citizenship, your assets, your family size, how many people are in college, and so forth. It then comes out with a number that we call the EFC, or the expected family contribution. Speaking of the EFC, this is a need-based formula that determines how much a family can reasonably expect to pay for education for that student. This will automatically appear at the end of the FAFSA application. Once you've submitted the application successfully, it will automatically appear on the screen and it will say EFC. This number is most times misunderstood by students. Most students assume that this number represents a monetary value, but it actually doesn't. This number is automatically generated by the system. It's based on the information that you included in the FAFSA, and it actually represents a range, not a actual dollar amount of what the student will have to pay. Some other aspects of the FAFSA includes the IRS data retrieval tool. This is something that's new. It's been about for the last couple of years, but it offers students the ability to upload their tax information into the FAFSA without making mistakes. This is most commonly used by parents, but students that file income tax also use this tool as well. Many times students make mistakes in entering the numbers. They get a little confused by what each section means, and they may be selected for verification. Verification is a process to basically determine if the information that you put into the system matches the actual paperwork that you have. And using the IRS data retrieval tool minimizes your chances of being selected for verification. There's nothing wrong with the verification process, but if you're trying to get in school, sometimes that process can hold you up. So it's best that if you can, you use the IRS data retrieval tool to upload or populate the FAFSA with your tax information. Once that information is populated, you can almost guarantee that there weren't any problems with the information that was uploaded as they were reported to the IRS. Sometimes, even after you upload the system, an institution may request a tax transcript from the student or the parent. So the IRS tax return transcript is free for students or parents that request it online, over the phone, or by mail. A tax return transcript basically provides all of the information on your FAFSA in a line on your tax return, in a line-by-line format. A tax account transcript provides basic information like your marital status, the type of return that you filed, and things of that nature. Either way, you can receive both by, once again, going online, by phone, or by mail, or by going into an IRS office. However, the IRS are pushing more families to use the online service, which allows you to upload the information immediately. If you speak with someone over the phone or you do this by mail, it may take 5 to 10 business days before you receive it. But if you go online, you can upload it immediately. So your follow-up to the FAFSA. After you complete your initial FAFSA application, most parents and students submit the FAFSA before they've completed their tax return for the year, which is okay. You can use estimates. You can use numbers from your W-2 forms. However, a couple of weeks after you file your tax return, you need to go back in and make corrections to your FAFSA. Corrections simply means that you need to now update your income information from being an estimate to the actual figures. Corrections can be made on the website regardless of how the FAFSA was made. So if you did a paper FAFSA, you can still go online and log in and complete the corrections. You can also use the IRS data retrieval tool. However, it isn't available until 2 weeks after you file an electronic return. So you want to follow some simple steps after you submit your initial application. Number one, you want to check the status of a submitted FAFSA. Sometimes, remember, you're selected for verification and there may be additional information to enter. So you want to check the status of that. Then you want to proceed to make any corrections, whether it's school, a change in a birth date, or just updating your tax income information. You want to also make sure that you view and print your student aid report, because this is going to give you details that you would definitely need to be aware of. So financial aid awards, when you think about all of the resources that are available to you, the school will package all of that information into one letter and send it to you. Most times students are waiting for a paper mail to come through to them, but most times this award letter is sent to you via email. If a school asks you to register your student account online, at that point, all correspondence from the financial aid office will come to you online. But one thing that you want to make sure that you look out for is your award letter. This is a package from the financial aid office that tells you about all of the aid that you're available for. So it's going to tell you about how much tuition costs at this institution, what you qualified for in financial aid based on your FAFSA. So this is going to include the types of financial aid that you may receive, which are, again, grants, loans, scholarships. And then it'll let you know, was your financial need met. If your financial need was met, that means that the student won't have to come out of their pocket to pay for tuition. However, if your full financial need wasn't met, you will have an out-of-pocket expense, and that is what the family can expect to pay from their pocket in addition to what you received in financial aid. The cost of attendance on a financial aid award usually consists of these 5 different areas. There may be additional areas that are taken into consideration, but these are the basics. When you're calculating your financial need, you want to take the cost of attendance from that institution, subtract your scholarships and grants, and subtract your EFC as well. That will equal out your financial need. At that point, you will be able to determine if you need to take out student loans or how much you will have to pay in out-of-pocket expenses to attend that institution. Every school has a different cost. This is just a spreadsheet to kind of show you how the difference between the cost of attendance may affect what the student comes out of pocket with. Now you can see that the EFC is 0. I put dollar amounts because if your EFC is 0, that basically suggests that you do not have to pay anything out of pocket. So if you think about the cost of attendance minus your awards and your grants and your scholarships, plus your EFC, which is 0 because you don't have to pay anything, this tells you what your financial need may be and what the student will have to come out of pocket with or get a loan to cover. So as you can see, for option A, the student is fine. But B and C, the student needs $3,000 to $15,000 in student loans or out-of-pocket expenses. So what can you do now if you're thinking about going to school? Well, first you want to research the college programs. It's very important that you understand that some programs do have a higher cost of attendance than others. So you want to research that. Then you have to apply. You can't get accepted into a college that you haven't applied to. Afterwards, you want to collect all necessary documents that you need for the FAFSA, and you want to utilize any net price calculators for tuition estimates. These can be found on the institution's website. Finally, you want to research and apply for scholarships because there's no such thing as having too many scholarships. And finally, if you need help, you want to make sure that you ask for it. So, some additional resources for you. All the information throughout this presentation was compiled from the Illinois Student Assistance Commission, the U.S. Department of Education, and information that we have here at Ladder Up. Does anyone have any questions at this time?
That was a lot of information.
Yeah, I
Packed
tried
into
to.
30 minutes. So that's a lot of really good information to know. Looks like we do have a person typing. Oh, thank you.
Oh, great. Thank
Um,
you, Bill.
yeah, that's a lot to digest. So thank you for all that information and also the contact information because I'm sure they'll have,
Yes.
be able to, it's nice to have the resources right there at your fingertips. So
And you
hopefully
can
help
always
someone out.
utilize this contact information to reach out to us. If you're completing a FAFSA, I've literally done this thousands of times. I've helped students over the phone. I've helped students through email. If you need one-on-one support, we're always here to help you. We can come to a location that's convenient for you, or you can come down to our office to gain assistance with completing the application, or if it's just a simple question that you need to answer.
Veronica has a question. Is
I'm
there
sure
assistance for, oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm sure, Veronica, that there are scholarships out there for full-time moms. Most times you can speak with your institution directly, and they can let you know what options are available for you at their particular institution. But I would suggest that maybe going to scholarships.com and being able to put in on this site, you're able to kind of build a profile, and they'll send you scholarships that relate to your profile. You're welcome. Does anyone else have questions?
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate all the information. We will be posting this again, on Illinois WorkNet, so we'll send out a follow-up to everyone to let you know when that is available on Illinois WorkNet. And if you are available, you can join us this afternoon at 1 o'clock, and we'll be talking, we'll have Keisha Uzbek, and we'll be talking about student loans. So thank you, everyone, and we'll have a great day.
And please don't forget to complete our online survey.
Oh, I'm sorry, I did forget to put that up there. Let me go ahead and add that into the chat.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Mhm.